Right, ladies and gentlemen, this gentleman I've known for many years. I actually used to DJ for him back in the day. But there's always a beginning, there's also a middle, and it's not at the end at the moment. But ladies and gentlemen, on the industry street today, I would like to present the one and only
Anthony Brightly.
That's right, Anthony Brightly, entrepreneur, club owner, of course, one of the members of Black SLATE. But when all that comes around, there's always something that gears up to it. How it all started, how it develop. So, Anthony Brightly, this is all about your life. How did it all start for Mr. Anthony Brightly?
Okay, well, it all started with my dad and my mum, George and Millicent Brightly. They came into the UK in the 50s, and
you were born and grew up as well in Hackney of East London, is that right?
Born in Mother's Hospital, Hackney, Lower Clapton Road. As many people know, in Hackney, Mother's Hospital was a hospital designed for mothers.
With that name, I'm not surprised.
Well, yeah. But it was actually designed for mothers, so it was always. You'll get people say, I was born in Hackney. No, I was in Mothers. It was one of those things that a mother would like to be in there.
Yeah.
So I was born there. My mum was broke in the middle of being in the bar. My dad saying to her, I thought he wasn't supposed to bar yet. You have to go to the hospital because the club are run.
Yeah.
So that is really how it started. My dad was an entrepreneur in his own right. He was a lorry driver. He had his own lorries. He was part of the making of the M1 motorway, and he ran a nightclub at the same time with his own sound system playing in there, which, as many people and some people know, which is 99 Downs Road. So in the 60s, we didn't have clubs. So most people had clubs in their basement, and my dad was one of them. So we had a club called Queen Bee at 99 Downs Road, and which was also a reception hall for people having christenings and being married and things like that.
Right.
And also a rehearsal room for many bands. So me being born in that environment, I suppose without even realizing, music was in my blood.
What was your school like? What was your school like? You went to a Hackney school, obviously, right?
Yeah, a lot more happened before that Hackney school thing started. So my dad leaving, and it's important that I talk about my dad because you will find how my dad has influenced my life without me even realizing that he had.
Yeah.
So in '63, my dad had to leave England because they stole his 2 lorries, and the insurance company decided that they wasn't going to pay him.
Oh, wow.
He's got a house in Hackney, and the only way he knew how to make some money and keep his house was to go to America. And most people know a lot of people went to America and work and just make money, and then they would take it and either go back to the Caribbean.
Yeah, or bring it here or whatever. Yeah.
So my dad left in '63 and left my mum with the house to work. My mum, them times, used to sew on a machine. And she sewed, I can remember the noise. Morning, noon and night, she was just on that machine, just sewing.
Crafting.
Yeah. And to maintain Downs Road. My dad came back 3 years later. But my dad was one of them men who couldn't really read and write. So he used his voice for everything. And this is how my dad taught me. So my dad made me know everything was possible, regardless. And if him can do it, anyone can do it. So it made me not have any excuses not to do anything. And my dad came back. So my dad used to send us tape recorders. So he didn't write letter.
Okay.
He sent a temporary, like James Bond.
Yes.
Listen to this message, it's going to destroy. So me and my brother would listen to this tape machine and rewind the tape, and listen to my dad's messages. And he would send the fear of God through these messages to us, so we had to behave ourselves.
Behave in the backside, son! If me have to come back home!
So, so he had this stronghold over us with his voice.
Yeah.
And when he came back in '63, he said to my mum, Millicent, he says, what happened to us will never happen again. So we have to make sure that we stay in business. So one thing people must do is eat and drink and have entertainment. So he opened a shop to provide food, and he opened a nightclub to provide drinking. And that nightclub was called 007.
Okay.
Now 007, you will know it as Cubies. Some people know it as Oasis.
Okay.
Some people know it as Roseberries.
Okay.
Right.
Okay.
So that club was there, belonging to Hackney, but no one could ever buy it. And the strangest thing about it, the longest tenancy you would have in there is 3 years. Anybody will go in there, you'll boss for 3 years, and then it goes. And then it goes down and it come back again, goes down and come back. So, as you know, Sir George had their 3 years in it. And, but before we got to that point, so my dad opened up 007, he opened a shop in Finsbury Park. And then he moved from Finsbury Park and went to Tottenham. And then we had a grocery shop in Tottenham for years. Then my dad opened up Club Norwich in early 70s. Now, simultaneously while my dad is doing all of that, I joined a group at the age of 8.
Okay.
Which was called the Maestro 5 with Earl Lewis and Robin Lewis. A fantastic bass and drum duo.
Sure. Yeah.
And that was right in Stoke Newington. But an unfortunate incident happened on Stoke Newington Common, which made Earl's mum take them back to Trinidad. And with that, the group had a short life of 3 years.
Successful years?
Well, we were kids. We were successful for our parents. So our parents, you know, I mean, we played in schools. Because don't get at that point, I'm 8, 9, 10, you know what I mean?
You're just learning about life, right?
Yeah. When you're not learning about anything, you try to learn in school.
In school, yeah.
And, but, you know, parents used to encourage their children to do anything. So there was all these various different parents in the areas who had bands. Like, you had the King family, who had the 3 kids who played instruments and played at weddings and things like that. So everybody, you know what I mean, you try to do something outside of, you know, you just did anything and everything that you could do. And so at the age of 10, the group broke up. And summer holidays came, started secondary school, which was Hackney Downs. So I went to Millfield School first, and then went to Hackney Downs. Well, after Hackney Downs, a friend of mine called Owen Hewitt, who was responsible for getting me into Maestro 5. He said to me, Phoebe's club, which was the main club for Hackney at the time, had a talent competition called Opportunity Knocks.
Which was obviously a TV program.
That's right. So everybody in the area said, you know, you was going to win 20 quid, which was a lot of money
back in them days.
Yeah. You was going to win 20 quid and get a recording contract. So everybody wanted to get into that. But by that time, there was a group called Equators, which had Alan Weeks in it, that you might know for being responsible for a lot of the 70s lovers rock music.
Right.
He was learning his craft at the same basement at 99 Downs Road. So because I had the equipment, people would come there and practice. And Owen came to me and said, boy, there's a group in Phoebe's that's looking a keyboard player. So I had a keyboard and everything. So I met Chris and Desmond. Patrick King, who's a master musician, and young in my trade at the time as a musician, we joined up. We did not have a name, but we were then called the Young Ones from Zion. And Patrick King really taught me how to play the keyboards. But as I said, he was a master musician. He was playing with all the artists at the time. And then obviously as we got older, we changed the group name from Young Ones from Zion to Black Slate.
Black Slate, which was of course a major name within the reggae vicinity as well, with of course all of you had your own style, and it's all about connections, isn't it, along the way?
So what happened at that time, You had many sound systems. So you had Sir George, you had Count Shelley, you had Fat Man, you have These, you have Vince out of Leighton, Metro. You had all these sounds.
Yeah.
Right. And them times, you aligned yourself with a sound system. You know what I mean? Didn't matter what age you was, you aligned yourself, just like how people support football teams.
Yeah.
Everyone was part of a sound system. And Count Shelley was like big sound system at the time. And, you know what I mean? Count Shelley was doing blues dances. And, you know, when people talk about ramming a whole house, he was doing that.
He was the one that was doing it.
Yeah, selling 30, 40 cases of beer in one night. Because my dad used to supply drinks for all the blues dancers as well.
Right.
So it made me and my brother always in the know of what's going on. So we were like, you might as well say we was running the division to say who's the number one sound based on how much drinks they're selling. So, and then Shelley decided to get into the music business. So at first he was a promoter. So you had Count Shelley and you had Admiral Ken, who was the main two promoters for Hackney. So for those who don't know Admiral Ken had a sound called Admiral Ken, who had the heaviest sound. People say Quaker 60 was heavy, but Admiral Ken had the heaviest sound in the whole of England. Then Quaker City, then maybe Metro Downbeat.
Because it was really, back in the days, it was really about the weight you could bring, wasn't it?
Yeah. So there's a famous picture of Admiral Ken with a lorry full of speaker boxes.
Yeah, I remember the wardrobe speaker boxes.
Right, so Admiral Ken, you know what I mean, who became one of the London's biggest club owners. He owned Club Coup in Leicester Square, the first black man to have a club on Leicester Square.
Yeah, I remember Ken.
He had a club down the road from Stringfellas.
Do you have Laces as well?
Laces down the road. He had Kisses. And he kept some of the biggest dances in London town of all times. So because of these guys keeping dances, all these groups needed backing bands.
Yeah.
And that's because we were the talent competition backing band for Phoebe's. We end up learning the top 100 reggae records. Naturally, it was just in our head. So you could call any record and we could play it. So when the likes of Dennis Brown, Heptones, Prince Jazzbo, Dennis Al Capone,
Ken Booth,
Leroy Smart, Johnny Clark, Errol Dunkley.
You also done stuff with Dennis Brown as well, right?
Yeah, Dennis Brown. Yeah, so anytime them artists came to England, we were the backing band.
Yeah.
And it came to a stage where we were doing this for so long, traveling up and down England, we decided that we wanted to do our own thing, which was easier said than done. So getting into recording was really not an easy thing them days. From they came into the UK, we were their backing band, and we really just, you know what I mean, we got a little bit of respect for that. Even though in Jamaica they would have said British people couldn't play reggae music, but I suppose if you're an individual Jamaican artist and you want to come to England and make pounds, we were good enough.
Yeah.
So with that, after that, Fat Man opened a record shop and started his own label, and he asked Black Slate to record with Errol Dunkley, and as a result, we did Letter to Myself in 1973. Now, during that time, it's not that things were changing, but young people in Hackney and Tottenham, Finsbury Park, was not prepared to do some of the things that their parents was doing. It's not to say anything was wrong with what their parents was doing, but there were some liberties being taken that they just said,
they're not doing it.
We're too militant for that.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? We're just a bit too militant to be accepting Harvard. So we would go for jobs that our parents didn't go for.
Yeah.
And half of us wasn't, well, most of us wasn't getting any jobs.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like myself, I went to 60 odd interviews because I wanted to be an accountant. Never got one. I ended up having to work in Marks and Spencer's.
Right.
Which is what they said I should have worked in the first place.
Right,
I said,
right.
why would I want to be in a shop? My parents have got a shop.
They got a shop. You could have been in the shop with your parents.
Right. So anyway, during that time, I've now taken over Sir George Sound from the age of 13. So me and my friends in school were running the sound. So you got David, Dane, Ronnie, Ivan, Patrick, Lodrick. These were the key members of my age group in my sound.
Yeah.
Now we had some older ones, which was like my brother's age. So you had people like Orin and there's a few other guys who was part of my brother's age group, who was also, but because Bernie wasn't interested in running the sound, it was like, well, you're in the sound with my brother.
Yeah. Well, Bernie was more, to my belief, Bernie was more of your security. You want to stay behind the scene, but if anything got hot, Bernie came out in front as the taker.
Yeah, Bernie was everyone's older brother.
Yeah.
So, and when I say everyone's older, you're talking about even the girls who used to come to Sir George. Bernie was their older brother. So if anything went wrong in the dance or you had guys doing stupid things, they would go to Bernie and Bernie would sort it out.
That's right. Because Bernie was a lump. He was a lump. He had a small guy.
Yeah.
Is he still?
He's a nice guy.
He's a very nice guy. Very nice guy.
And everybody liked him. You just didn't get on the wrong.
Don't get on the wrong side of him, otherwise you wish you didn't.
So while Sir George now, as youths, everybody have a youth sound, but everybody want dubs, innit? And what happened was, my dad owning Norwich, I said to my dad, I want to play Fat Man song. I don't know what flew up in my head, but I'm following Fat Man sound. So me and my cousin Lloydie is watching Robert and Richard, right? Who's like, anyone who know Fat Man, when Richard is on that microphone or Robert or Select, and them times Fat Man's playing reggae and soul, you know?
Yeah.
So Fat Man he wasn't the rubber dub sound, he was an entertaining sound.
Yeah.
And then as he progressed, he became the dub sound. So for us, when I asked my dad to let the sound play Norwich with Fat Man, and I went to Keith Hudson, them time Keith Hudson is big. Well, Keith was big all the time, but he had the album Rasta Music or something like that. And I went to him to get his dubs. He said, why a little man like you coming to me? So he says, but you can't buy them. I said, no, I can't afford it, but I'm playing Fat Man and I want them. And he said, so why should I give it to you? I said, because I need them. And believe it or not, the man gave me my master tapes and told me to guard it within life, go cut them off. And
give it back him, give the originals back.
Yeah. So Ronnie was in the sound. Ronnie was the man who would go to Denmark Street, LTS, cut the dubs. And I don't forget, we're all at school. So we all leave in school to do different things.
Well, you knew what it would do, what sort of explosion it would cause for you to come with the right dubs. Because back in the day, it's all right now, but it's not the same. But back in the day, to play a dub plate with an artist, people... That's what gives you your stripes, isn't it?
People come to your dance just to hear you play a dub plate.
A dub plate, yeah.
So all geared up, and anyone who knows anything about sound system, your sound will always sound good when you one playing it, and there's no one else there.
Nobody else, yeah.
And rule number one: if you're playing with another sound who's got a higher power than you, don't try to play as loud as them, because you will become the distorted sound. Anyway, lo and behold, that's how I learned that lesson. The first record I played, Fat Man just signed me off. I don't even play the record all the way through. He signed me off. Richard and Robert just took the mick out of me. I put my head in the record box. I'm sure the tears were just running down my eyes. I couldn't even face the people them. But you know, that was the first record for the night. So I had to be in the dance you can't take out your sound until the end of the night.
Yeah,
So that embarrassment was like put a venom in my body to just say I have to return. So with that, I went to the studio and made 3 records. Record 1 was Susie Wong.
Susie Wong's a big tune.
Yeah, I made Susie Wong, Wilton Meyer sang that. I made an instrumental called Piano Twist, which was directly made just for Fat Man, because them time Fat Man used to bust up Here I Come and play, the whole 90s, and he would play the instrumental, the horn version. So I made a piano version just to play it back on him and tell him that nobody in the world can play this but Sir George. And then I made an instrumental record, because them times Augusta Pavilla was big. So I made a melodica record as well. And that was also to be that dub tune that nobody in the world could play.
Could play it, yeah.
So made them 3 records, saved up the money, made the records. But as I said, the road was getting really bad. And
is this on the jealousy level?
Of what?
I'm saying with sounds, like, I mean, the sound clashing.
Of course you're jealous, innit?
Back in the day.
Yeah, you copy sounds to be better than them. You do, you know what I mean? You want what they, you know what I mean? You want to be the number 1 sound, innit?
Did you have any bad experiences on that? Playing at a dance and all the crowd going mad and
Fat Man.
You beating the sound.
Oh no, well, we're gonna come to when the tables turn. But what really set me up, and don't forget, there's 2 sides of me now. So I've got the side where I'm the artist in the group,
yeah,
which I'm the little boy in the group because I was the youngest one in the group. And then you got me as the sound man, where I'm the selector of my sound.
Selector of your sound, yeah.
So I'm the star of my sound, and I'm just the keyboard player in the group. Right, so it's 2 different
areas,
but they're parallel going on at the same time. So after the experience with Fat Man, I got to the studio, make these records. Obviously, can't get another date with Fat Man, because they're going clear now. They're so big, and they done already they tore me a right one. So they didn't even want to know about St. George again. Anyway, the street is getting hot, and Sticks Man them take over the street. And obviously in school, you're seeing your mates in school changing the way they dress. And once you see them dressing a certain way, you know that your mum is not buying you those clothes, so man is licking tech. Right?
Are we talking about crocodile skin and all them shoes and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, Crocs. One of wear silk shirts, crepes, not even just silk, you know. Crepe silk shirts, you know. And anyone who know, you know what I mean, they're going to Sessagy and buying the Lion shirt that costs £99.
And back in the day, that's a hell of a lot of money.
I worked for a week and earned £30.
Right, so that comes to show you.
So 3 weeks' wages.
I must swear that is.
And some. So you have to work for 4 weeks and don't eat no.
Right.
So that's just to understand how much these clothes cost. But these guys are licking tech. And
that's all to do with to impress.
Well, no, it wasn't to impress. I think at first when them guys started to hit the road, it was to make money.
Right.
Because you couldn't get a job.
Right.
And so they just said, nah, we have to go on the street. And it was simply, we're just taking from the white people what they've taken from us.
Right.
And it was simple as that. You know what I mean? They had a code that you don't thief from
your own. From your own.
Yeah. So as this thing was developing, I was saying, boy, my dad said thief for thief. So it didn't matter who them are thief from. So I was saying to my brethren, boy, that's not working, it's not right, it's not right. If you thief from white, you're gonna thief from black. And they said, no, it's not like that, Brightly. Anyway, on my way to rehearsal one day, they had a thing they call grab and flee, where they grab somebody's bag
and gone, which is still a fashionable thing today.
And as I'm walking up, I hear this black woman, come back here, boy, with my bag. Come back with my bag. If I catch you, I'm gonna kill you. And this guy's run off with this black woman's bag.
Yeah.
And I said, you see it there? So I saw it with my own eyes. And then I went back to the studio the next day. And as I was going to the studio, I met Elroy. Elroy said, what you doing? I'm saying, I'm going to the studio. He said, what are you going to the studio for? I'm saying, I'm going to make a doublet. He said, why? He said, I said, because I'm mad. I'm really mad. He said, what are you making a doublet about? I see something happened last night and I don't like it, so I'm going to make a record about it. And then Elroy said, no, let me come with you. So I said, all right, come. And Elroy's a better singer than me. I'm not a singer. I just want to sing, but I can't sing. But Elroy is just a really good singer. And he had a really nice feel about him. So when I started to sing, he says, nah, T, you can't sing that. I have to sing it for you. So
you're glad that he did come along in the end?
Yeah. No, well, I was quietly happier because I knew that he could sing.
Yeah.
So he says, do you know the words? I said, I know part of the words, but I'll tell you as I'm going along. So I wrote the words on the spot. Six man, why you do that? Rubber man, why you do that? Say it was your mother, say it was your father.
And that was one of your big hits as well, wasn't it?
Well, that was our first big hit. It was a massive hit. And, you know, it became a hit because it was the first record in England to be singing about black people.
Yeah.
So every black man identified with the record, not because there was a Sticks man, but they might have known a Sticks man.
Yeah.
Or if he was a Sticks man, he said, right, we've recognized they have to make records about us.
Yeah.
So you're talking about becoming part of the social media, but in the sound system world.
Yeah.
And the first time we played at Plastic Grove against a sound called Jayut. Them times Jayut is big sound, and you know what I mean, they're ramming.
It's a big name. Jayut is a big name.
Every Friday night they're ramming Plastic Grove, and we're saying, can you give us a date? They give us a date. Again, same old thing. You string up your sound, it now sound good, but it's not that it's not sounding good. Jayut just had a better sound than us.
Yeah.
So I said on the microphone, you know what? Dub till it done. I looked at the time, I said, we'll just be able to play Treat. Because it's only Treat we had.
But it was worth it.
So we played Susie Wong first. He played another one. And then I played Piano Twist. And then because of our Piano Twist, everybody knew the Fat Man version.
Yeah.
Everybody went crazy. But Jayut at the time was famous for Black Skin Boy.
Right, yeah, that's a big hit.
Right, so when he played Black Skin Boy, you know, again, everybody just says, I'm a black skin, you know what I mean? So,
yeah.
And then I said, only sound in the world to
combust his Sticks.
And then Sticks man come.
And blew the place apart.
We became the biggest sound overnight. We just bust overnight. Like, the word got into don't forget, we're in Plaster though. The word got to Hackney before we could even get home that night.
Wow.
By the time we got into Phoebe's, because it was a Friday night, by the time we got to Phoebe's, everybody said, boy, we're here seeing that East London and Boss Up.
Well, you know what? Your journey carried on because on top of that, you also had two other great big hits as well. And the one that rings a bell to me more than anything was Amigo.
Right, Amigo was a very big hit, but the reason why it was a big popular hit, and it did things because the white media didn't understand what the words were, but once they found out what the words were, they actually shut it down.
Right.
Because the record came in at 35, and in 1 week of being on top of the pops, we jumped to number 10.
Yeah.
And when they realized that it wasn't a gimmick song, it was actually a spiritual song telling you that Jah is not going to leave you, Jah is going to carry you through, they just took it out of the chart.
Because back in the day, on those days, their racism was very strong.
Well, imagine racism and controlling how much Christianity is coming over the airwaves.
Yeah.
You know, if you wasn't songs and praise on a Sunday, that was it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. So that is what happened. But
you had another hit as well, isn't it? Tell everyone your other hit.
Well, that was a big hit, but you must know how big Sticksman was, because
Yes, go ahead.
Sticksman was a national hit, but Sticksman also went to number one in Belgium, Holland, and Luxembourg. So it was a big, it was a big European hit.
Yeah.
So even though Amiga was an international hit, Sticksman was also very much an international hit. But it was a game changer in the musical fraternity because it was singing about what was going on. You know, when you used to listen to Jamaican records, they sung about what was happening in Jamaica. Now you've got an English record singing about what's happening in England. And that's why it was so significant to the UK. And it also, white people was now listening to the record and saying, boy, them man are putting us on the same level. They're saying we are one. So hearing it in Birmingham, you hear a white man talk about it. He says, nah, this is a big tune.
Yeah.
Because it's a unification of, because don't forget, we're going to school together.
Yeah.
Innit? So now you got this black and white unification, whereas before, white man, a white man, a black man. And there was...
It was never like that, was it? It was a hard time.
It was a division.
Yeah,
You know what I mean?
it definitely was.
So,
And then as the sound progressed on, you had a middle hit before Amigo. Tell everybody the name of that track there.
Mind Emotion.
Mind Emotions, which obviously was in there as well as your second hit, wasn't it?
Yeah.
Tell us more about that.
So after
Sticksman.
when my dad decided to release Sticksman, and I said, can you put it on our own label? So we had a label called SLATE label.
Yeah.
And you must understand, the record shops didn't want to play it. So Lee Record Shop, Lascaux's Record Shop, which it became Regal Record Shop,
Regals, yeah.
was not interested.
That's where Trevor Sachs used to be.
That's right.
Yeah.
They was not prepared. Lascaux, the man inside there, was not prepared to play the record. He said, it's an English record, we now play it. And June said, no man, Anthony, come in the shop every week and buy a record. He said, that's for him to do. He mustn't make a record, he must just buy a record. He was really a rough Jamaican man. Anyway, when June played the record, everybody in the shop bought
Jumped
one.
up down.
And he said,
And that made him want to supply.
well, he bought 200 copies.
Well, there you go. Well, there you go.
And by the time we went to Dub Vendor and come back, he said he wanted another 500 copies.
Well, you're talking about record shops now. I mean, I know we have record fairs and stuff like that, but the record shop's gone under now. What do you feel about it being in the stage that you have to download and people are biting your tune? I can go online and get all your tunes for free. How does that make you feel? In the sense, do you still get PRS for that? Even though there's people like myself that could go on there and bite your tunes?
Yeah, you know that you see if a man go on YouTube and copy my tune, or go on YouTube and put it on, it's a lovely feeling.
Because it's being played.
You know how much record them could copy, but they want to copy my one.
That's a good way of putting it, and
So-
that is actually a good way of putting it.
If I go out, you know what I mean, if I go out and I hear one of my records being played, I'm like a kid again. Even at my age, if I hear somebody play my record, I just feel good. So for that feel, so if I go online and I see any of my records and I see it have 1,000 hits or 10,000 hits or 5 or 100 and 1,000 hits, it's a good feeling.
Well, you know what, Anthony? I mean, because I haven't got loads of time, but I've got so much more to talk to you about.
You better
Because
ask the questions,
after
because
your
if I
music,
talk-
after your music time, you still had the music. You would never die from music. But you then decided, Dad can do it and I can do it, so I'm going to dabble in the nightclub. So I believe you had a little share. If I'm right, you tell me. Definitely had the White Art Pub. That was in Clapton Pond.
So,
Tell us
alright,
more about that.
All right, so the nightclub business. Right, so you know I talked to you about every 3 years everything changes.
Yes,
right.
yes.
So after my 3 years in Cubis,
I said Cubis first. And,
Tommy said to me, all right, you want to take it over? I said, yeah. But I'm only 21. He said to me, boy, you can't take, you're too young to take it over. I said, I can make anything happen. I said, I made Cubis happen, didn't I? He says, yeah, but it's gone down. I said, I have an idea. I can redesign this place because I'm a paint and decorate by
Yeah,
trade.
yeah,
So
yeah.
I said I can redesign this place, rename it, and I can make it work again. So he says, well, I still want you to work with somebody. And there was this guy called Derek, and he asked me to work with Derek. And I had a problem with that. So, but Derek knew the potential of this youth man. Don't forget, I'm only 21 now, right?
Yeah, but he already knows that you've got a name out there.
So he knows that if he works with me, it will work for him. And at the time, Derek was the man who cleaned the place.
Yes.
But he was also Tommy's right-hand man who worked with him. So Derek,
You appreciated him then.
So Derek was the next man in line to get. So anyway, Derek said to me, all right, what do you think it should be? So I said, well, I want to make it smaller because, you know, Cuba was very big.
Yeah.
So I said, I don't think so much people's going to come out now. So I'm going to bring the wall into the stage, change the bar, make it look a little bit more smarter, put some plants in, and I'm going to call it Oasis.
And ladies and gentlemen, that was the birth of Oasis nightclub.
So now, so we've changed the name to Oasis. And what happened, a lot of everybody was working for Cubies. Some went to the West End with Tommy, some stayed.
Yeah.
So Louis stayed, Winston stayed.
Because Louis was one of your partners as well.
Well, Louis wasn't actually my partner. What happened was, I bought my house, right?
Yeah.
So, but to go into Oasis, it would mean that I would have to remortgage my house.
Yeah.
And I didn't feel comfortable with that.
Yeah.
And I never had no savings because I spent half my money on all sorts of stupidness. So I said,
yeah, Gallus.
I knew a lot of girls, but I wasn't a gallus. Because if you were a gallus, girls wouldn't follow your phone.
Yeah,
but if you knew a lot of girls, they would follow your phone. Right? So I knew a lot of ladies, and all of us knew a lot of ladies.
Yeah.
And we were friends with a lot of ladies, and they would follow them. So when we finished the work and got the whole place, Derek said,
sorry to cut you before you go. Where did the Oasis come from, the actual name?
It's just one of the names I had that I wanted to make a club out of.
Okay, cool.
So, you know what I mean, don't forget, I'm that little kid who's making...
Dope.
Right, so when I say I want to do something...
Everyone will jump up. And because you got the contacts with all the artists and that, they look at that vision as well, being that you are part of a group and stuff like that, yeah.
So I've had my hit record. Sir George is still about, but we're not the number one sign anymore, but we're still healthy.
Yeah.
Anyway, Derek says, you need to give me some money now. And I said, I don't have that kind of money. And I said, and if I had, I wouldn't be giving it to you. So he says, well, if you're not there, you can't keep the club. I said, but Tommy gave me the club. He says, well, he gave us the club to work together. So I said, you know what?
Keep it.
Do your thing. And I will just
And you walked out.
carry on. And Louis, my brethren, at the time, Louis said to me, he said, boy, Anthony, don't you want to... I said, I don't want to work under that circumstances. I just don't want to do it. I said, not that I have anything against him, but you know what I mean?
You like to be your own boss.
When I was 21, I was a real bossy piece of...
Do you regret it?
No, not at all. Because I will tell you what happened after that. So off the back of that, 22, sound's gone down to nothing. Done a world tour, Black Slate, you know, I mean, I've traveled the world. And Sir George has whittled down, created Oasis. I decided not to go in it. And the birth of Pirate Radio Station came, which wiped the floor with the street sounds like myself. Because when the new pirate stations came, they were all playing soul. And within a year, everybody who liked Lovers Rock became a soul head.
Solid, yeah.
Everybody became a soul head. So where we used to play a certain portion of soul, we sort of primed them up to become proper soul heads.
Yeah.
And so I left Oasis. Louis took it over and worked with Derek.
Yeah.
and they were totally successful because I got CJ Carlos in.
Yeah.
And they just...
And this was all on the back of radio, really, because the birth of radio, it was so easy to have a DJ on the radio, bigging up the club and making it a success through the radio being
because
associated
it was new for us.
Yeah.
So now, you know what I mean, people's not waiting for the weekend to see how your blues is.
Yeah.
They can listen to music right through the week. And what they're listening to is not what we're playing anymore.
Not what you're playing no more. Yeah.
And anyone knows if you hear the same thing over and over again, you're gonna end up.
You get bored. It. Yeah, and you'll get bored, but you also get to like the tune, and you end up singing it.
Right.
Yeah.
So I've left, and I decided I still end up going and remortgaging my house, but I remortgaged my house to increase the Sir George label.
Yes.
And with the Sir George label came Sandra Reid, Boy, Trevor Hartley, Call on Me, Sandra Edwards, Endlessly, Feel So, and the list goes on. So I have hits.
You've worked with everybody, basically. Yeah.
So we became one of the leading British record labels. So out of every disappointment comes...
Which was, of course, more so, it was on the Lovers Rock side of things.
Because my label was a Lovers Rock label.
Yeah.
And we became the fashion. And we just sold a lot of records. So that worked. And then my dad, and then simultaneously, I still kept on playing the sound. Because I would make records so I could play it in the sound. So if I couldn't play my record without making it on the sound, that means people didn't like it. Or you would lose contact with what people want to hear. So the sound was the saving grace for me making records. And then my dad came, but by this time my dad decided that he wanted to live in Jamaica. And he came back and he says, "Boy, Anthony, All Nations Club, it's gone down, they need a break. Go play at the club." I said, "Daddy, I can't play at the club."
Mr. Elliott, R.I.P. Bob Elliott.
That's right, Bob Elliott. He said, "No, Bob is my good friend, and you know, Sir George and All Nations started at the same time." So my dad was the original sound for All Nations.
Right, you hear that, everybody? You hear that, everybody? Listen.
So, when All Nations was just one hall, Sir George was playing there. And when it was two halls, Sir George played in the main hall. And that happened right up until maybe 72.
Yeah.
So, so my dad said...
So name the DJs were upstairs, because obviously you know. Who was the main DJs upstairs and downstairs? Valdez, was they one of them?
I didn't know them, you know.
You didn't know Valdez? Sussy and Curly?
When they called me back, when my dad said go and play there, even though I didn't want to, and I said... So I said to my dad boastfully, if I clear there, I have to play in the main hall.
Yeah, the middle floor.
That's right. Yeah. Not knowing that nobody was in there. Because everybody just thought All Nations is always full. Well, it wasn't always full. So when I went there, All Nations, the basement was still ram. And the top floor was always mediocre.
But the middle floor, because I played there for a while, I've done about 10 years there. The middle floor was one of those floors. When you first come into the club, it will be packed. It will be packed up to, say, it will get comfortable about 12:30, 1 o'clock and whatever, and possibly 2. And then from 2 o'clock, everyone would stray and it would be the basement or upstairs everyone would go to. It was like that.
Right. So when I went there, nobody was even walking into the middle floor because there just wasn't a lot of people going there. The place was just open.
It was too open.
So I said to Bob, look, you know what I mean, we have to do something. He says, I don't do leaflets. So I said, you know what, I can't be playing it. So I said, I'll do leaflets and I'll go and promote myself. Anyway, within 4 weeks, middle floor is full. And we're taking the people from the basement, we're taking the people from the top. And 1 week I made a mistake. Because you know them days, you slick, innit? I made a mistake and everybody disappeared. And I said, right, this is not going to happen to me again. So I used to play from 10:30 to 4 o'clock. And I said, right, me done at 4 o'clock. No, got to that. And that lesson was one of my biggest, even though you played before, but All Nations was one of those tricky places. You slip, you slide.
You're gone.
You know what I mean? So, and then I said to Bob, boy, look, I've made your club work. You need to pay me some more money.
Well, that is a different
Yeah.
situation.
So Bob said to me, "Nah, man, I'm still not making enough money." So I said, "You know what?"
Bob was hard to
Yeah.
please.
So I said to him, "It's all right. I did the job what my dad asked me to do. I'm going." And then a man called Bronx, John Bronx, came to me.
Is it from Mega Radio?
No, John Bronx owned the Bronx Club. On
Okay,
Casey Road.
okay.
And he said to me, here say if a man want a club to work, we have to call George Brightly's son. So you know me both here, right? I said, that's right.
Yeah.
So he says, I have a club that I want you to run, which is called Maxim's.
Maxims, you remember Maxims?
Which is next door to Pier 1.
Pier 1.
Okay, right.
Yes.
So I said to him, well, you know what? The deal changed. Because after what happened to me at All Nation, I said, if I'm not running it lock, stock and bar, collecting the money and collecting the money at the bar and paying you, I'm not interested. And he said, all right. Anyway, I went in there, 3 months, nothing's working. So the man said, I suppose you're supposed to make my club work. Why is it not working? I said, it's not that easy. You just have to, you know what I mean? And I wasn't the most popular person around. Them time Pier 1 are going, you know.
Go on, big things.
Pier 1's going on. So, and you can't do the same thing that another club is doing. You have to think of something different. So he says, why? Give me up the money and you can just take the club.
Okay.
So I went and borrowed some money,
and you just
paid him off, took over the club. I had to deal with the landlord. And so I said, you know what? I'm going to change this raving scene. And at the time, there was a sound called Funky Jamaican Express.
Yeah.
It was the big sound for the blues dances.
In East London?
In East London.
Yeah.
You had people like Funkadelic.
Yeah.
And them man play soul all night.
All night long, yeah.
But different to how the DJ Carlos's of this world. Them man play soul to rave to.
Yeah.
And Funk Express was like that, but he would touch a little reggae here and there. So I said to him, boy, can you play? So I got some girls to do the promotion called Lovely Ladies Promotion. And they got him to play. Because I think if I went direct, he wouldn't. Everybody, you know what I mean? I was horrible as a soundman, so it was hard to get soundman to want to play for me. So the girls got him to play, and the rest is history. Ray Groove became the biggest thing.
Which it is now. And then that's where you knocked on the doors. Well, obviously, Oasis had him, and that's the people like...
Well, you see, this is where... So what happened was, with Oasis having their 3 years with DJ Carlos.
Yes.
I've come 86, 87. Their 3 years is up.
Oh, so you're now taking over.
So I've created this new thing, and I'm just a promoter now. I'm a promoter, club owner. I'm not playing sound.
You're not playing no more.
So, and I'm opening my club 6 nights a week. So you got Rare Groove 6 nights. So you got Tuesday, special edition from West London. Wednesday, Touch of Class and Mystery and Company. Thursday, LWR. Friday, Funk Express. Saturday night, Sir George, of course, you know me have to play a record. And then Sunday, I would do a little yardie thing. And I did that, and the rest was history.
Well, it was history because you've carried on. You haven't stopped in your tracks. But then, of course, you decided you want to get involved in another. How did you manage to take a big risk and take on the White Hart pub? Because that's where I came across your tracks. And next door, you took a massive risk because Dougie's was right next door, and you still managed to get the people in there. How did that come about?
It's called a thing called pressure.
You were under a lot of pressure then.
So when coming out of Maxim's, as everyone knew, in 1989, we had that big thing where everyone's mortgages went up 3 times.
Yes.
And I lost everything. I lost my house. I lost all my investments.
So you were bankrupt?
So yeah, I went on my face. And my brother, Bernie, was working at cleaning up the White Hart pub. Because the White Hart pub had a name. It was, you know, he was a little gangster pop on the corner in Hackney.
Yeah, yeah.
So it's like anything in Hackney, you need
That
a
nobody would really touch it.
Right.
Right.
So the guy goes to Bernie and says, boy, I think you should take it over because you've done a really good job. So Bernie said, nah, you need my brother for this. So Bernie comes to me and says, boy, talk to this man because he wants me to take it over. He says, I'm not interested. So after the experience in Maxim's now, renting a club, I said to this man,
money needs to be on the table.
if I'm going to take over this club, I want to own this club. You have to sell it to me. I'm not paying you no rent. So he says, you can't buy a club like this. Because don't get a big lump, innit?
Yeah, it was a massive lump. It was a massive pub.
So I just said to him, listen, again with Milk and Boss yourself, I just said, when it comes up for sale, because at the time all the breweries were selling their pubs off.
Yeah.
I said, I'm going to buy it anyway.
And it was a naughty part of Hackney as well, wasn't it? Very, very naughty part of Hackney at the time.
Hackney's Hackney. You know, people call it that Hackney. But you see, as naughty as anyone would say Hackney was, nobody could buy a house in Hackney.
Yeah.
So it wasn't that.
Even now you can't buy a house in Hackney. Yeah.
So with that now, I'm in the White Hart pub, borrowed my money. Me and my brothers cleaned up the pub, or Bernie's cleaned up the pub.
But can I ask you something? Borrowing money and having to put it back, that must have been a massive risk.
It's a risk, isn't it? But when you're on your face, you don't have no choice, isn't it? You have to take a risk.
But if the money is not put back, you get yourself into some problems.
It's more risk, it's more problems. So you borrow again to pay off who you borrowed.
So you rob Peter to pay Paul?
Yeah. And then borrow from Shirley and Andrea and everybody.
Yeah.
And then pay off Paul. Can't pay off. You know, it's just one of those
Did it make
things.
you sweat?
Yeah. And it makes you work very hard.
Yeah.
But I think what happens is there's a thing called fate, and people uses that word quite lightly. But when you know what fate means believing in something that you can't see.
Yes.
So what happens is a very lonely road because no one can see it. Everyone's going to say, come on, Anthony, put your hat down. You've done it now. Your time's over. And many people have told me that. Give it up. Give up the ghost.
You ain't giving up. You ain't giving up, Anthony.
So as a result, in when we went into White Hart pub, we cleaned it up so much that we actually cleaned out all the business. Because the business was the drug business.
Yes.
So the drugs, man, people buying drugs, people buying drinks.
Yeah.
I think one of the biggest lessons I ever learned was that one. So I had borrowed a massive amount of money to go in there, and you know what I mean, with ignorance, because when you're running a Bandula club,
because that's what it was.
right, so when I was running Maxim's, it was like a glorified blues dance done up on a high street.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? All you're doing is paying your rent. You're not doing no VAT returns.
No.
So having this now legal place with a legal license and having to pay VAT, I never understood it. So the VAT man come to me and say, so don't forget, I've already lost my home, my everything.
Yeah.
I'm riding a bicycle now.
And now your team man's on your case.
VAT comes and says, and I'm sitting in the pub, and the man comes in, who's Anthony Brightly? So everyone looks and says, this man I asked. And I'm sitting down there and said, I am. What? He says, here, I've got something for you. You're served. Bankruptcy papers. So now I'm officially served bankruptcy.
Bankrupt.
And I've even paid off the money to get, you know what I mean? And
So put your head above water again.
yeah, so I understand what bankruptcy is. If you play Monopoly and you get bankrupt, you feel really bad, and that's just a game. In real life,
It's a good
you're
thing.
feeling really bad for the 3 out of 4 years.
Yes.
Every day, because you can't open a bank account.
Yeah.
You can't get nothing.
Yeah.
So you have to rely on other people to front you to do things,
Yeah.
whatever the case is. And I'm running a club what's not successful.
Yeah.
So I've turned the White Hart into the Pegasus, and we're just trying, but it now work. We're just trying.
Yeah.
And I'm fixing it up more, and people are saying, boy, give it up, it's not working.
Yeah.
No one wants to come there. So as I do, I find the next DJ who I think. So I'm looking for people like myself, really, who's full of themselves and think that they can run a play, but no one's listening to them.
Yeah.
And Victor V is on the radio. Trevor Sachs is on the radio.
Yeah.
And even though I was running the club, what was making me money? When I was in Maxim's, I invested in a sound system called Stone Love. And going to Jamaica in '87, I said to them, you guys remind me of myself. I'm going to make you the biggest sound system in the world. And Weepo says, if you think you can do that, go on then. Well, the rest is history.
So you were the founder, or not the
No,
founder?
not the founder.
You were
I
of
am
some. You
the
put.
management from 1987 till now.
You're the manager of Stone Love. Do you hear that, ladies and gentlemen? So the industry street don't go on deaf ears. It goes on reality of how these people have managed to get through, and how, sweat. They had to sweat through getting to the stages. But Anthony hasn't finished there. He ain't finished there by a long one.
Yeah, so it makes you go back again. So I have to talk about the whole Stone Love thing. So I bring Stone Love to England in 1988 or 88, and we do a nationwide tour that no one goes to. Upper Club, Uppercut.
Yeah, uppercut.
big
Yeah. First gate.
Yeah, right. I think maybe 20 people.
Was it first gate?
Yeah, first.
Yeah.
20 people turn up. We go to Leeds, one person turn up. We go to Birmingham, played with what's the name, Prince Allied. I don't know if 50 people turn up, it was holy. It didn't matter where we went. No one turned. And I invested in my shirt, trousers, everything. And in the club at the time, there was a record called "Don't Touch the Coke."
Oh yes,
Clement Irie.
Yes.
So I brought Clement Irie over as well. And
don't touch it. Don't touch it. Yeah.
And so got him about, and so what we had to do with Stone Love is hit the streets so we started to do blues dance with Stone Love sound.
It was all over.
So we were doing blues dance, Clement Irie's on the microphone, you got sounds like Touch a Class. So because I'm in the rare groove scene, I'm now bringing dancehall, but it was juggling in it, so it wasn't heavy.
It was mix and match.
Right. And we've just moving around, and then we promote another dance in Slough with Coxon and Fat Man. Stone Love, Coxon and Fat Man. And that place is rad. And it becomes a big problem because Black Dread is saying little Rory English boy, because everyone thinks Rory's Jamaican, but Rory's British.
He's British.
And so it's a little coolie boy, and he's really dissing the program. And you know what it's like in a sound clash, because them times Stone Love is clashing
against.
It's pure dub play to play. And we're pie. Gunshot. Everybody runs out. Man gets shot and that. And that was the first of the gunshots.
It started licking.
And it was like,
did you get scared?
You can't afford to get scared because it's your business.
Have you ever had a gun to you before?
No. I've heard it, seen them about, but at the end of the day, when you're responsible for something, you can't afford to be frightened, can you?
Yeah.
So you become fearless.
But obviously, being it's your reputation, you must have felt on that side of it.
Yeah. Well, I've got a bad name, innit? Man started to say, boy, can't go around Brightly now, pay a gunman around Brightly. And and that went around. Man said, boy, I can't play with Stone Love, pay a gunshot and fly Stone Love. So all of a sudden now, you're getting a bad wound on top of a bad wound.
Yeah.
So a girlfriend of mine at the time, she says, Anthony, it's that voice, man, it's just that voice. So I said, what do you mean it's that voice? She said, we just like the way he talks. I said, what do you mean you just like the way he talks? She said, you know the way he talks on the microphone? I said, really? So Rory's living with me now, right?
Yeah.
I said, Rory, we need to make an LP and you need to talk on it. Because we have to make this money back one way or the other.
One way or the other, yeah.
So Rory said, what do you mean make... I said, just talk. So we put out Stone Love Volume 1, which is Rory saying, yeah, inside, blah, 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 you choose the songs.
Yeah.
On a vinyl.
Yeah.
And that's how I started to make the money back off of Stone Love.
So that's a crazy one. And, you know, it didn't stop there for you because as
it goes on.
It goes on. And we could be here all day.
Yeah, that's the, you know what I mean? So that's another chapter in itself.
But Mr. Brightly, there's also another thing. You've already done the promoting. You've already been the DJ. You're still a DJ. You've had your own sound system. You know, you're a club owner. But there's another thing. It's like everyone's saying that even though Peter Terry is doing This Is All About Your Life, there is going to be a film which is partly about your life and Black Slate. Tell us more about that.
Well, this is what's happening now. Well, we did the book. So we've got a book called In the Beginning, which was written by Bernie. Because Bernie's the writer. Bernie's the brains. Bernie, you tell Bernie he can put it together.
He's your diary.
Yeah.
He's
Bernie
your major diary. He knows everything that happened.
So when I first started to do my autobiography, I got Bernie to write it.
Yeah.
And I said, but Bernie, now we need to write about how it was as kids because it was such fun.
Yeah.
So instead of writing that, he just wrote the book In the Beginning. And that's like 60 of short stories.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You got the blues dances, you got them talking about the Royal Club, you got them talking about Sunday dinner, getting their first licks, doing, you know what I mean? So, buy the book, go on Amazon, you'll see it. It's called In the Beginning by Bernie Brightly. It's an amazing book. And I'm saying that because I am his fan as well. But the book is amazing.
It's amazing.
You know what I mean? I remember when we did the book launch and a man bought the book. And he said to me, boy, Anthony, I'm not ashamed to say it. I've never read a book before. But I've read your brother's book all the way through. I couldn't put it down.
Yeah.
And it's one of those books where you just don't want to stop reading it because...
Tell us about your ups and downs, your trials, tribulations.
It's about the life of us as a people.
Yes.
And that's why everybody enjoys the book because when you read it, you just sit down and chuckle and smile because... You know,
remembrance.
You remember being around the table having Sunday dinner and somebody take out your chicken out your plate when you're looking the wrong way.
Well, you do need, and it's overdue now, for your movie, which is what you're working on now.
So the movie is happening now. There's a young man called Daniel who's a feature film movie director in his own rights. And I knew I wanted to make a movie, but I needed to make it with a black man who wanted to make it for me. I needed somebody who wanted to do it for me, not me find somebody to pay to do it and them doing it because I'm paying them. I needed somebody who wanted to know about these things. And me and my daughter went to a movie, a short movie premiere in Antigua. And I met this young man. And he came up to me and says, who are you? I said, I'm Anthony Brightly. He said, so who are you? I just said, I'm just Anthony Brightly. And I said, maybe if you go on Google, you can find some things about me. I said, here's my card. So I said, who are you? He said, well, I'm Daniel. I said, so what you do, Daniel? He said, well, I'm a film director. I said, well, that's why you're talking to me. Because I need a film director to do my movie. I said, but find out about me and then come back to me and then we'll talk.
And then he went on Google and he came back in 5 minutes and said, rah, okay, this is my biggest film I've ever done.
Well, he never see me until like months later when I came to England. And he said, boy, mister, he says, Sir Brightly, man. He called me
Sir. Anthony Brightly was not Sir.
So we did a thing called Young Gifted and Black.
Yes.
That was a short documentary that I did. Which is obviously Black Slate doing a documentary to encourage young people. So that was the first thing he directed, and we put that out on the 23rd of September. And then he finished his feature film called Yes Man, which is what the next biggest thing has got to be, where all the street sounds, all the radio DJs are going to be a part of this. movie premiere, and then off the back of that, it'll be a movie itself. So that's the man who's gonna. So he says, we can't do it as a one-off feature film because there's too much. So he's actually doing a sequel. And,
so it's gonna be different parts.
So yeah, so you'll have one to introduce me, which the first one's gonna be Six Man.
Yeah.
And he said that one because it talks about encouraging young people and letting young people know that anything's possible if you put your mind to it. It's to encourage young actors because it's all young actors in this.
Yeah, yeah.
So, you know, I mean, I've met the young man who's playing my role. But I'm going to be in the movie, which is nice. But I'm going to be playing my dad.
Your dad. Makes sense. Makes sense.
So I said to him, it would be too hard to find a big man to play my dad's role. And then, you know, so I said,
well, the only person that will know more about how your dad is you.
Yeah. So I'm going to play the role of my dad in the movie. And
is there a release date on that, do you feel? Because obviously I know
it'll be before the end of the year.
Oh, right.
Because it's short, we can do them quicker.
Is it going to be on Netflix? You're looking to put it?
Well, whichever one of them bid the highest bid, they'll get it.
Right.
Because they're going to need it. Because we're going to make it big without them. Right. So they're going to wonder why they haven't got it.
Right. Now, you obviously now are still radio presenter. And you still do your shows all over the world. Sorry, tell everybody about that, because as well as being a sound man, you're also a radio presenter as well. So what is it you haven't done then, Anthony?
Well, I haven't made the movie yet. So
no, you ain't got that. We're getting ready for the movie.
But I've done the TV. I've done the first British reggae chart show.
Yeah.
So if you go on YouTube, you'll see all the different chart shows of British reggae music. Because I am an advocate for British musicians, because British music and British artists always get left out.
Yes.
And because the way the charts run, they always just give us a season. So we're never able to prolong our music.
So what do you think of people like, of course, you know, you've got Orlando Gittins that does the Giants of Lovers Rock and stuff like that. I mean, people like him deserves a salute, don't they?
No, you know, look, listen. I think people salute me every day. You know what I mean? I can guarantee that one of my records must be played daily.
Yes.
What more than that would one want?
Yes.
You're talking to me. That's a major thing.
Yes.
You know how much DJs you've done interviews with, and you're doing one with me? That means, for me, you know what I mean, that means that's proper like little recognition, you know.
Yeah.
You see, when your local town recognize you,
you
don't need no, even though the Guardian newspaper has said Six Man is the best British record of all times. It's fine. But they didn't write it for our people. So none of our people knew that.
Yeah.
So when someone says, oh, I know that record, money can't buy that. Money can't buy that. So for me, you know, when people listen to my show and they say, oh, Anthony, you took me down memory lane, or Anthony, I remember this, or what is it? That is what, for me, that's why, you know, it's like being a selector when you're playing in a dance.
Yeah.
And you wanted to make sure that everybody, you don't want no one to walk out the door. Well, it's the same thing as a radio presenter. I say what I have to say, I don't mix my words. Sometimes it's more like a talk show.
Yeah. I
like to encourage people. But at the same time, I don't do a revival show. I will play old music, but I'll also play new music because it's still moving, it's still going. I will play all sorts of music. From it sound good to me, I will play it. And if it's young, I'll also play it. So for me, reckon it, and I've had one award before from a man in Northwest London. And praise God bless him. He gave me that award, and my mum was very sick at the time, and I said to Mummy, if you get better, you can come with me to get that award. And she came with me to get that award. And I dedicated that award to my mum, because without my mum, she was the one who bought my keyboards. So she was my first investor, my first fan, my first, she's my queen. She's the lady who made me know that anything is possible. And my dad just cemented that and said, boy, put your mind to it and you can do it. Because if me can do it and me never got to school and you got to school, your must can do it. So we never had no choice. We had to do it.
You definitely had to do it. And Anthony Bradley, I know you're a very, very busy man indeed. And on that count there, Anthony Bradley, I could sit here and talk all day. And I know I've only just got half of the story. On behalf of the industry street, I would like to present you with this little token and say this has been all about your life.
Wow. You got me speechless. You have me talking all that time and now you have me speechless. You know, Peter, big respect to you and all the people you work with and the people and the industry, because recognition by your own means so much.
Thank you, Anthony.
And when I can't explain what recognition means, because it's more than money. Because somebody had to do it or felt that it's something to do. So for me, all I want to say is just thank you. Just big respect, because you made me feel good.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, this is Mr. Sir Anthony Bradley, good friend from back in the day. And I never even knew, hearing most of the story today, I never knew. I knew he had certain things under his belt, but I was just one of those DJs that used to DJ for him back in the day, but I really didn't know his history, but I do know now, and I salute you, Sir Anthony Bradley. Next week, we'll have another big one for you. Take care. From the industry street, we'll speak to you again. Take care, and this will be up on YouTube, and you'll be able to hear the whole story again for those who didn't catch it. Bye-bye for now.